It's time to talk about the weird dynamic between Gwyneth Paltrow and Meghan Markle. Obviously, we are talking about two very different people here. We're talking about true Hollywood royalty from a Hollywood family who has a successful career as an actress and springboarded that into Goop, which was one of the first of its kind of this sort of celebrity lifestyle brand that incorporated old school sort of blogging and vlogging with products and was able to easily translate it to social media stuff that worked out well for Goop in terms of it becoming a notable brand that people know and is kind of maybe sometimes a little bit infamous in a way, notoriously overpriced, weird stuff sometimes, but just in general as a brand and something that could be deemed successful for what it was going for, Goop made it and was one of the first of its kind, for sure. So Gwyneth is obviously a smart and intelligent businesswoman and entrepreneur, and understood what she was going for. She had a strong identity for Goop. It was meant to be something that sparked curiosity with its name and its branding, and definitely had a clear target. It had its own identity. It was stuff that was going to be a little bit more bougie, sometimes completely unreasonable. Its target audience was women with money to spare for things that were maybe a little bit unnecessary. She did a good job in that realm. So we have her on one hand, a true A-lister and somebody who has achieved some degree of success, and also who is known to be a girl's girl in that she has strong female friendships and support network that's like well established. She and Reese Witherspoon and Cameron Diaz and a few others have like been friends for decades. So she has a good reputation, is my point. And then, on the other hand, we have the Meg, somebody who the general public only knows about because she married Prince Harry, whose every opportunity has been extended to her only because of Harry, either his name or his wealth, quite frankly. Just being honest and objective here. And while there's not necessarily anything inherently wrong with that alone, I mean, there could be. You could argue there's something wrong with that. But perhaps more importantly, or more impactful, is the fact that Meghan hasn't achieved success with any of those opportunities that were not necessarily given to her, extended to her based on any kind of merit. And she has repeatedly picked up a potential endeavor and then dropped it, half-assed it, and walked away. Everything from like more charitable initiatives or social endeavors, things that she's like, oh, I'm going to support this, I'm going to champion this cause, I'm going to do this or that, to actual like projects that she's done, like her book, The Bench, terrible. The podcasting, absolute train wreck and disaster. Their various interviews and the Netflix show they did together, although some of them have been successful or gained attention, she's jam-packed it full of lies and weird, out-of-touch things, and she just comes off as cringy, corny, kind of just not a great personality shining through. Everything feels a little contrived, to this As Ever launch being really rocky, and weird product choices whose quality is questionable, and her Netflix show, which is just lacking spirit of any kind. All of it. And even her acting career was very limited, flat, and I mean, let's face it, it's not like she was nominated for any sort of awards or anything like that. She wasn't a celebrated, successful actress the way Gwyneth was when she was acting more frequently. So we have a real A-lister, and then we have somebody who is decidedly far removed from that, and who has not shown herself to be capable in the business world, or really in any sort of a format We haven't seen any success. We don't even have decades-long, strong friendships the way Gwyneth has. We don't even have that. Yes, Meghan has had some friends on her show that she claims to have known for a long time, but the dynamic is not that of a decades-long friendship. It's something else entirely, which we'll get to. So we have two very different people. And they both had a Vanity Fair cover recently. Meghan's was critical. Gwyneth's was decidedly more glowing. Everyone deserves a chance to try anything they want to try, she said, in regards to Meghan, which is true and fair. Yeah, everybody should try anything that they want to try if they want to try it. Yeah, that's not saying that they're gonna be good at it, but they deserve a chance to try it. That's very, very fair. She also said in that interview that she doesn't actually know Meghan and that maybe she should try to get through Meg's security to deliver her a pie. Sense of humor, something that has endeared Gwyneth to the public. Now, no doubt, upon reading this, Meghan leapt at the chance to actually meet a real A-lister for once. As Hollywood hierarchy goes, Gwyneth is way above the Meg, completely out of her league. So Meghan here, in this position, in this dynamic, has a lot to gain from a potential interaction with Gwyneth, and therefore would have been very flattering and very complimentary, almost groveling at Gwyneth's feet. Surely, very serious love bombing would have been occurring in this meeting. Meghan would have been on her best behavior. Whether it included spindly cursive is unknown at this point. But allegedly, rumor has it that Meghan then reached out to Gwyneth and was like, we should get together. And then this strange Instagram video was posted of Gwyneth and Meghan, and it really was a bit odd. Like, this was just kind of a weird thing to do no matter what. But the 2 points that the reports on this missed. One, that narcissists and those really high in narcissistic traits will be whatever they need to be to get you on their side. So Meghan was surely roping Gwyneth into thinking that she's super nice and just a huge fan. And as we've seen Meghan do previously, she is able to procure strategic friendships when necessary, obviously. And it surely was Meghan who suggested they post something to Instagram to tell people so that people stop comparing Goop and as ever. And like most toxic people, will use all kinds of manipulation to try to make this seem like it's a good idea or like it's not even her idea, like it's somebody else's idea. But we all know that it was surely Meghan who suggested that they post it to Instagram, just like it was Meghan who suggested she and Princess Catherine hold hands. Yeah, cringe. And it was Meghan who suggested they get together, apparently, who reached out. Anyway, the second point that keeps being missed is what is kind of most telling about this, which is whether or not this develops into an actual friendship or if it's just a one-off type situation, kind of like a publicity stunt or just kind of like punctuating that story arc that we had to endure and never asked for. A one-off would be quite obvious if it did work out to be that way, that Gwyneth didn't actually really care for Meghan's company, if they don't become friends. Maybe it'll be similar to how Meghan has done with a handful of people where she's managed to hang on to the strategic, advantageous friend for at least a couple of years or so, the way she has with Abigail Spencer and Kelley McKee, I think her name is. She or Mindy, who like she kind of calls upon occasionally. I don't know. Time will tell. The thing about this dynamic that's a little odd, though, or sets it apart a little bit, is that Meghan has tons to gain here. Gwyneth has a lot to lose or nothing to gain at all. Gwyneth doesn't need to be associated with Meghan, and as a smart businesswoman herself, probably doesn't want to necessarily be associated with or compared to Meghan because she's got her own stuff going on and can surely recognize that the brand is toxic at this time. But one thing about Meghan that has always drawn people in is the narcissism that she exhibits so obviously. And where there's smoke, there's fire. There's far too many coincidences of people speaking out, old friends completely ghosted, broken relationships, failed businesses, abandoned careers and initiatives, far too many signals of toxic traits, bossiness, rigidity, egocentric language. All of these things that we have seen unfold over the years, there's far too much of that evidence, if you will, to not accept that Meghan is high in narcissism. And part of why it fascinates the public is because we have experienced people like that in real life, and sometimes to disastrous ends. But they always leave you feeling sort of gutted and drained. And it's hard to put your finger on this feeling of being down or stressed after you've been around them. It's like you feel like you need to recover a little bit, or like you've been holding your breath the whole time. Sometimes even when you've had a good interaction with somebody who's high in narcissism or really toxic, you still feel almost like, even if everything went fine, you still feel like you've been through something, sort of. It's a weird thing that's really hard to describe, but even when everything went smoothly, you still kind of feel bogged down after being around people like that. And so it's really interesting to see which way this goes and where this goes exactly. But because there's so much evidence to suggest that logically it's safe to assume that Meghan is relatively narcissistic, then she has to work really hard to make new friends, and then to keep them for any degree of time is quite the challenge for her. She has to really contort her personality to fit what she thinks they want to see. And while I have faith that Gwyneth is able to see through this, as I said, time will tell what happens next. But it will be kind of interesting to see if anything comes of this interaction. As I said, it was a crossover, Goop and As Ever, that we did not ask for and did not want, and nobody signed up to see. But here we are. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!